You can't do something you don't believe in, and you gotta believe in you. And a lot of times what we do to prevent ourselves from the fear of actually trying to complete those dreams, we go pick on other people. And those people that are throwing the biggest rocks are usually the people that are literally bound by the fear in their lives. And if they're throwing rocks at something else, they don't have to realize all the things in their lives that they're not doing, that they know they can, but they don't have the guts to make that attempt.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. D, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. Now on today's podcast, we have a very special treat as we actually take a conversation that I had in the Thrive State Summit. If you've missed it, this was a place where I interviewed 50 of the world's thought leaders in mental and emotional wellness, giving us the tools to master our mental health, emotional health, so that we can show up as the love and as the authentic versions of who we are. If you've missed the summit, you can actually access the summit by becoming one of our members. Check out mythrivestate.com, where you can learn about all the courses that we're offering, our community, as well as access to the Thrive State Summit and so much more content. Again, go to mythrivestate.com. If you are new to this podcast, welcome in. I am Dr. V, and it is been a pleasure to be a host of this podcast that is going strong for over 2 years now. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Thank you for saying yes. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe to this channel and please engage in the comments below so that you could help the podcast grow. And if you are a loyal listener, thank you for being a part of this podcast journey, for supporting the message here. If you haven't already, please allow this podcast to grow by subscribing and leaving a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. This is really going to help with our engagement, and our ability to bring in better guests and to give you more content just like this. Now, on this episode, I interviewed Jay Brewer. He is a guy that actually comes from very humble beginnings, but following his dream, following his passion, and following the things that just light him up and bring him joy has actually attracted so much into his life. Here is a very inspiring story. Listen to his childhood. Listen to how he didn't fit in school, but yet he just followed him and he followed his heart. And not only has he built the life of his dreams, so much has been brought into his life. A TV show, being able to amass over 10 million followers all across social media. You're going to learn all of this and what it takes and what life is like when you're truly following your dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this conversation I had in the Thrive State Summit, which you can access at mythrivestate.com with Jay Brewer. Welcome back to another session here of the Thrive State Summit. With me today, Jay Brewer believes in living the dream. You can see that right in his background, living the dream there. And he just launched his reality show on TV. He's actually the founder and owner of the Reptile Zoo in Fountain Valley, which contains hundreds of species of reptiles, from exotic snakes to alligators to tortoises to everything in between. You'll see here today that he's got a larger-than-life personality. You'll find him on Instagram. You'll find him on TikTok, where he has amassed over 20 million followers. There's never been a dull moment for Jay, who runs the zoo with the help of his 3 daughters, Laura, Juliet, and Andrea. And the zoo has garnered the interest of Roku, which is why this is actually turned into a reality show. He calls himself somebody who's 58 going on 7, who's opened the doors to what was known as pet country back in 1988. The space expanded over the years to its current size of 13,000 square feet, and the Reptile Zoo, which officially founded in 2009, it is also known as Prehistoric Pets. Jay Brewer, welcome to the Thrive State Summit.
How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. And every time I see you on social media, when I met you in person, I believe almost a year ago.
Yeah.
There is no difference between who you are on video and who you are when you first meet you. Somebody who is very optimistic, very happy, and obviously super successful now. And I just wanted to take people back because you didn't start off this way, and it took quite some time to build up. And let's just talk a little bit with the backstory of your childhood. And I remember you were like a fisherman hustling in school.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that. I first started out being adopted in the first place. And that adoption was to an older couple. And my mom had passed away when I was 4, my adopted mother. And then we became really poor because it was, basically, I think they were wealthy before they had adopted me. And then my dad started drinking. I'm giving you a really quick overview. And he ended up drinking himself to death when I was 14, and I was left with $500 and nowhere to live. But it all works out, and it was a very interesting start. That's a lot of tough stuff cut out in between here and there.
Well, tell me, when you were a child, I mean, all this happened, very early on. Lost your mother at 4. Dad became, a full-time alcoholic in your teens. What was going through your mind at that point? Was this something that is like, this is normal, other people are going through this too? What was your personality like? And the positive person we see here, was that something that was cultivated? What was that energy like back as a child?
I think that, I would say that's a product from it, but it's the product of the reverse part of that product.
Yeah.
So, when you have alcoholic family, you might become an alcoholic, right? Yeah. Or you might actually become an anti-alcoholic. But that doesn't mean you still don't have some of those genetic tendencies. In this case, they weren't my family because I was adopted. But the wilder part is, I use the term living the dream because at the end of the day, I started out in a very hostile, terrible situation, living in literally a dirty house in the middle of we were on welfare and everything was bad. But yet somehow today I'm traveling the world. I've been some of the most wealthy people's family on the planet Earth. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. And I've learned a lot in that period of time. And I've seen both ends of the spectrum, from the poorest to the richest. And I did come to one common denominator very early in my life, is that money has nothing to do with your state of mind. Because this is a mental health type of thing we're talking about, I like to start off backwards. We always like to think, well, what if we got a bad start? What if you're the one sitting at home saying, if I only if, I don't care how rich you are, how poor you are, our life starts right in here.
Yeah.
And right in here is where it all goes right or wrong. And a lot of times what we forget is it really is all in here, because it really doesn't matter what's going on around you, doesn't determine what's going on inside here. Right. You could be the wealthiest person in the world and think you're the poorest person. You could be the poorest person in the world and be the wealthiest person. And for me, for whatever reason, I was born a little bit aggressive. So when people pushed me, I pushed back. So when I was told I couldn't, I was lucky enough to be the one that said I could. And the common denominator is that it all happens here. And so because I believed I could, wow, mysteriously I did. And even though all the odds were against me, I not only was I born and raised in a very hostile, poor environment, I have real learning disabilities. I guarantee you that whatever alphabet, I can't even say ADD and all the other things correctly because my mind doesn't work that way. Yeah. That being said, it's a blessing and a curse. So
mom passed away early, father alcoholic, you're in school and probably not getting very good grades.
No, I didn't even go to school. To be quite honestly, I remember one time I didn't want to go to school. My dad forced me in the car, drove me down, said, I'm going to get the principal. The principal came out. I threw such a fit that the principal said, I don't think he should be in school. So I got what I wanted through every bad mental health thing that you try to do to control your world, because I'm not saying mental health doesn't have a lot to do with your chemicals, your DNA, but I'm telling you can control it if you get this part right.
Because what was that thing for you as a kid? Was it sort of like just looking at the world and saying, maybe what they're teaching us out here isn't completely right, and I trust what's going on in here? How did you start to build the mental fortitude, despite what the world might be telling you might not be like, not going to school, not making good grades, all these other things.
I wasn't. I
Able
wasn't
to
very
develop that
conforming.
belief in yourself.
I wasn't very conforming, and I think that that's why I started out. I was a fighter. I literally, at one point, I went to school only because I found something I was good at, fighting. I would defend kids that were, being pushed around. If the bully thought he was tough, I always thought, well, maybe I'm tougher,
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are held down by other people, and some people are taunted to raise up by other people. But I think the most important thing is for you to figure out yourself. And I don't think either way is healthy. I think I came from, even though it worked for me, it wasn't really the healthy way. So it took me a lot of years to get where I got. And it was really going to one extreme that I couldn't do it to really doing it so well and trying to control everything, that I had mental issues trying to keep everything in check and going down the path I wanted to. And I think that we have to learn in life that sometimes maybe, just maybe, that there's more to life than what's going on in your little world. I think we try to make things be a certain way, and I really don't think that's healthy. I think we have to learn to understand that everything in our pathway isn't needed that we think we need, and everything that we, I think we get kind of mixed up with needs and wants. I think we get mixed up with what's important and what's not important. You know what I mean? And a lot of series of small choices can create big problems or greatness. I mean, and I'm learning that, I've luckily been able to always look far enough down the road that I could see my mistakes before I had to get there in most cases. And that's been a lucky thing that I've been able to do. And not everybody has that, but I think if we have something we hope to get to one day, I believe that the most important thing is that we don't let the outside white noise telling us that it's, oh, you can do it easy. That could be a curse as much as you'll never do it. Because I think that we have to try to figure out ourselves how to get there. And we need to realize that maybe to be flexible and allow things to not, I thought I would be where I'm at today. I literally had it scheduled to be there 15, 18 years ago. And I could have easily given up, but I never did. I for whatever reason, I've always had the fortitude never to give up. And I think that's one of the reasons what I've been successful. I just had to make a lot of adjustments because I had to learn in that period to back off and not, instead of trying to race to somewhere you're supposed to be, you end up racing there and you get there too early. What good is it? It sounds really bizarre. And so what I'm really suggesting is maybe there's more to life than what goes on. And there's, people talk about vibration, people talk about self-fulfillment, people talk about manifestation. Well, there's some power in the belief of believing you can do it. And just the most simplest power is that you can't do something you cannot believe you can do, because you'll never have the fortitude to push yourself to the point of successfully doing it, because nothing comes easy in life, whether it be getting yourself mentally healthy, getting yourself physically fit, getting yourself financially sound, getting yourself happy. All these things are really just something that we have to work towards and be willing to accept the way they are. Otherwise, you'll never be happy, you'll never be wealthy, you'll never be successful.
So it sounds like one key ingredient there is belief. And
absolutely, I am a full believer. Without that, you have no chance.
So let's start there, because that's something that I think comes very naturally for you.
Yes, I'm a very inside-driven person, thank God.
But if you find the people around you, that you probably would say the majority of people, it just doesn't come that easily. So for somebody like yourself who have found it so easily, and I'm pretty sure you've talked to many people along the way, how do you start to instill that belief in other people? Or how do you think some people could start to cultivate that within themselves?
Let's just say, I'm going to take a big leap of faith here. What if I was to say that I just wasn't smart enough to go through all the problems? What if I was to say it's so much easier? The first beginning of it is that we all think we're going to control this whole, where we're going, what we're doing. What if I was to tell you that that's just an illusion? I mean, do we really know what tomorrow holds? Can you really predict the weather? Can you predict, I'm going to get in my car, I'm going to drive to LA? I just came across town. It took me 30 minutes longer than the GPS computer said it was going to come. So it couldn't even predict my future. You know what I mean? It's technology. So why in the world do we think that we can set a path that's so exact? I think we can know our destination, but I think we need to learn how to let that destination come to more natural. I think that we have a tendency of honestly overthinking it. So I'm going to tell you that I think that the first thing you need is the ability to relax and not try to control every minute and every second. And your mental health issues, whether you admit you have them or not, are going to fade out, because I think control brings anger, depression, anxiety. All those things are kind of like warning lights that you're letting your I read a book called Love Focused, and it talks about being outcome focused. And you know what? Some point you have to let the destination, it's okay to have a destination, but to start putting timelines, how you're going to get there, what the weather's going to be on the way, who's going to be along with you. I think you start to put so many moving parts in it. You take something that's very simple, you've got the direction, you know what you're supposed to do, and you turn it into all about you. And when you turn it all about you, there's this other factor. It's called all the things and people around you. And when we try to control all of them, we don't have the right to do it. We're not capable of doing it. They can't control themselves. You can't control yourself. So why do you think you can control everything around you? Mm-hmm. And as soon as you can learn to sit back, let life happen, I think that you can get a long ways. I'm not saying not to have a drive. I have a drive stronger than most people. Sometimes that drive gets in my way. So that's really what I'm trying to say.
And what have you done? You've noted, you were mentioning earlier that there was really that time of your life where you were really achieving a lot of success, but probably a lot of mental health stuff started to kick in.
It was already there.
How did you learn to relax? Because I'm pretty sure the more you grew, the more kind of, came at you, and the more things you could potentially seek to control. And I remember speaking last year, you were still in the weeds doing a lot of your social media stuff, and you were already in the millions. So how do you, what are your methodologies to be able to relax yourself and tell yourself you don't have to control everything?
I think every time, that book that I was talking about, it actually talks about, anxiety, worry, all those things are like warning lights. So sometimes I still got to get to that over angry, over upset, over, whatever moment to click in the gear and tell myself, stop it. There's nothing on the planet Earth you need this moment that's worth all the anxiety, all the frustration. If you're going to show up late, you're going to show up late. It's funny. I think it's not a coincidence now I think about it. Being on time is a big deal to me. I don't know how many times I've been going somewhere with my family and I'm yelling at the people I love because I want to be punctual, right? And how important can anything be that is more important than the people you love right around you, right?
Right.
But yet you're willing to yell and scream to get them all in the car, to get them to somewhere that if you're 10 minutes late, you're 10 minutes late. Now, am I suggesting you should be 10 minutes late? No. But I'm suggesting that at some point, you got to learn in your mind to turn it off and say, you know what? I'm not in control of the universe. I'm not going to get exactly what I want. And then take one step further, and I'm going to be okay. Because you're going to be okay. I showed up 10 minutes late here. We're having a great podcast. I honestly think I'm more focused. I think we're getting more to the point of what it's about, mental health. And it's being 10 minutes late only made it to that point quicker and more direct and gave me this perfect moment to think. And I told myself, we're going to be okay. We're 10 minutes late. Even though deep down inside, I wanted to go back to oh my God, maybe I should pull over and do this podcast. And it would have been, right? You know what I'm saying? So
no, this is perfect. This is a real life example. And here's the thing that I want people to be able to extract by what you said, that the anxiety, the worry, the fear, the stress is a signal from our body. And if you're able to just breathe through it and know you're okay, you can start to analyze what rules, what beliefs, what are the conditions in my mind that made me stressed out in those instances? And then you start to unravel those things. And then you get to ask yourself again, like you did, is it worth it to have to be punctual in this situation when my loved ones are involved?
How many times you get an argument with your wife or your kid or whatever, and you think after it's done, what the heck was it even about? Why did I go there? It was no way it was worth it. But we got to learn to pick up those triggers a little bit early, because there's not so much to rewind and repair. You know what I mean? Once you do a bunch of repairing, you know what I mean? It's so much, it's so much easier just to try to teach yourself, hey, I like to tell myself I set booby traps, I set warnings so that I know I'm going somewhere I'm not supposed to be. And so I try to set traps, you can say, in my mind of that, hey, if this is going on, that already tells me you're going the wrong way. There's nothing, that road only leads to a wasted time, a longer time to recover, a longer time to get your mental, state of mind back. Because, when they say you lose your mind, it's kind of a true way of putting it, right? And of course, we know where our mind is. It's right between our two ears, but we got to kind of back it up. And then what do? We try to make excuses. Well, they upset me. Who cares? You're the one that gave them the power. When you tell somebody you make me mad, then you're basically saying you are in control of me and I'm your servant. Who wants to do that? Who needs to do that? Nobody wants to do it, and nobody needs to do it. So take responsibility for your own actions and realize you're allowing yourself to be mad because you're in charge of you. And I think that that's some of the stuff that I had to learn through all the nightmares. And you know what? I still wouldn't trade one bad thing in my life, including losing people, to everything that's happened in my life. I really can see, looking backwards, that it is part of my purpose to get where I'm going to get and where I'm in. And I say where I'm going to get because I still don't believe I'm where I'm supposed to be completely. And I'm okay with that, even though I'm 18 years behind schedule.
Let's talk a little bit
about real schedule.
Let's talk a little bit about sort of hardships. As you were saying, just sort of the cards you were dealt in your childhood.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Cards that I was dealt.
I considered the phrase, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. This is a quote from a novelist, Michael Hoff. And whatever people might be going through right now, if they have some mental health issues, maybe they are in states of worry, anxiety, stress, fear, it's a signal to their body. They might be going through a hard time. But I think now, particularly what you shared, is those hard times is really carving you into the next version of you. Can you speak to that a little bit more? I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for ThriveStateStarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at ThriveStateStarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire
the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that. You could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed, and please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
Okay, so I come to the conclusion it's that life throws rocks at us. You know what I mean? The world's a broken place. There's tons of broken people. We live in a broken society. It's just the way it is. You know, I mean, we all getting older. Our bodies are on decline. The planet is on decline. We're on decline. But I believe that humans are special. And I believe that when these bad things come, we can do one of two things. We can stuff it in a backpack, throw it on our shoulder, and carry our problems around with us. And let me tell you, that is a high maintenance, takes a lot of work, a lot of energy. It's super draining. Or we can look at these problems differently and say, what can I do with this rock? And I believe you could take these rocks, pile them up in the corner to get you to a mountaintop that you never dreamt you could get, that nobody else can get to, because you have these rocks to build, use for construction material, to build your future into something that nobody ever dreamt that you could ever do. And they told you your whole life you could never do it. And you know what? I personally feel like I've done that. I believe in a creator. I believe that this planet didn't happen by accident. A lot of people I like to ask, do you believe in God? And I don't care what you call it. You can call him God. You can call him anything you want. Because you know what? Do you believe in karma? Do you believe, and at the end of the day, if there's karma, if you answer yes to any of those things, and you believe there's some power in the universe, and somebody's got to keep track of the power. And so at the end of the day, I really believe that power wants us to be able to do whatever we want to do, and gave us our ability to choose that. And we can choose greatness or we can choose defeat. I always like to say, me being born poor was more of a blessing in my mind than if I was born up to a billionaire. Because if I was born to a billionaire, how would I ever impress anybody? How would I impress myself? I'd be starting up here. Instead, I start in the bottom. So I get to have a lot of wins that billionaires never got to have. I got to build things. I built my first boat at 14 years old. I was in National Geographic's, standing in it at 16 years old in a full-page picture. I've had nothing but wins. I've had lots of failures, but I can still count up more wins than any billionaire can, because their wins started so high that their sons and their daughters, they have a tough time. I've met a lot of billionaires' kids, and it's not easy for them. And I thank God that I ended up starting on the bottom, because for me, I wouldn't have done well starting at the top. And I'm not saying if you're a rich kid that you aren't going to make it great, because some of them are lucky enough to realize that they're born with this and they use them create absolute greatness. And I think that we all have resources that are right next to us, and that we don't need to look at somebody else's resources and think, if I had that. You don't have that. And even if you did, you probably wouldn't know what to do with it. You'd probably squander it, mess it up. But everything that's around you is what you need to make it to where you need to go, to be who you're supposed to be. And there's nobody else can do it but you, because you are here, you're special. And that's my belief system. I don't think I'm smart. I know I'm not. But you know what? I still have what I need to do what I'm supposed to do. And obviously I'm making some form of an impact. I've been able to do wild things with my life and I say I still with a little bit of, I'm surrounded by people that were there at the right times in my life to help me get to the place I need to be. There's a network. I really believe people are the most important, most valuable part on the planet Earth. You can have all the money in the world, and if you don't know the right people, you can die of a headache. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Let's get
You don't know the right doctor.
dream part, Jay. Living the dream.
Sorry? Yeah.
The dream. How long has that been a model for you, and what exactly does that mean?
You know what's funny is when I started that model, Living the Dream, I got attacked. And you know what? I kind of knew I would, and it took me some guts. I've never been if anybody that watches my stuff, I don't have a lot of fears in life. I'm still looking for fears in my life just so that I have a reason to go face them, because I really believe fear is the number one component that gets us to do things we're not supposed to do, because whenever you're scared of something, you run the other way, and usually you trip and fall, and just, you're driving down the freeway, a police officer gets behind you, boom, you rear end somebody. Fear just is a really unhealthy thing to have in your life. And sometimes it's probably the thing that is right in front of the most important things in your life. And so, you got to push through it. And so for me, living the dream was really, really honestly bring head on my fears. And so when I used that term, people attacked me, and they were like, one guy made a slogan, "My dream's better than your dream." And I literally loved it, because it gave me an opportunity to go in front of all my haters, the whole little group of them, and go, exactly, you figured it out, because your dream is your dream. My dream is everybody else's nightmare. I mean, think about it. I have snakes and lizards and frogs, if it hot crawls, gives your mom the chills, I'd probably love it, And so the part I think people get messed up with is they're always looking somewhere else for their dreams. And their dreams really are all within inside of them, all capable of happening. And the only person that's going to ever be able to unlock it is themselves. And so that's why I believe in manifestation works, is because you can't do something you don't believe in. And you gotta believe in you. And a lot of times what we do to prevent ourselves from the fear of actually trying to complete those dreams, we go pick on other people. And those people that are throwing the biggest rocks are usually the people that are literally bound by the fear in their lives. And if they're throwing rocks at something else, they don't have to realize all the things in their lives that they're not doing, that they know they can, but they don't have the guts to make that attempt.
Let's talk about fear, because that's one of the core things a lot of people face in this mental health space, because living the dream really is pursuing that. But as we pursue that, there are some things that kind of block us. There might be some things that we say, we're not this enough, we don't have enough resources. All these things start coming up. And really, it's just that ego part, the fear part, that's holding us back, wanting us to stay quiet, which is where...
We're talk about fear, we might as well have a little bit of something. I was scared of these when I first started.
So let's talk about that. So this is something is fear, just almost like an illusion that's in front of us. That
false evidence appearing real.
So what is your process of attacking it? It seems like you almost kind of welcome it now, because the moment you actually see it, you're like, okay, there's some false evidence here. I know if I somehow get on the other side of this fear, I live closer and closer to my dream.
I find that, quick story, because my life is nothing but a bunch of stories, right? All our lives are a bunch of things that happen to us, and we can react any way we want. I was sitting at lunch with my wife, and there was a show on playing, and it was called Right This Minute. And it was viral moments forever land, right? I mean, this was like way back. Like Instagram was new, this was no TikTok. And my wife said to me, I said to her, "Hey, I want to be on that show." And she started laughing at me. And I thought to myself, hold on. I said, I could be on that show. And I thought about it, right? And she goes, "Well, how are you going to be on this show?" And I realized that I had a video back at my shop, and I was scared to post it because I was scared of being attacked by fellow reptile people. It was a snake striking at me, And I literally told her I could be on that show. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go put that video I'm scared of up. And I mean, I didn't tell her I was scared of it, but I knew inside the reason why that video had never been up. It was like 10 months old, never been put up ever. And it was a snake striking at me, and it made the snake look bad, made me look bad, but it didn't in a way because I had no fear. I just laughed through the whole thing, and I posted that video, and within 4 days, I was on right this minute, on the show I said I'd be on, and my fear was that I wouldn't make the Reptile Society look good. And instead, they did a Skype because there was no thing called a Zoom back then. They did a Skype. I was able to put a snake with eggs, teach everybody on TV what made me tick, how I love the animals, made all the reptile people look like incredibly huge, and it literally was a social media sensation. It had millions and millions of views. People recognized me when I went to Dubai. You're that guy. All because of one video that I was scared to post. So, question is, I have for all the viewers, how many things in your life were you scared to do because you were scared you're going to fail, look bad, it wouldn't work? But really, when you stop and thought about the cost, it wasn't going to cost you your life. It wasn't going to cost your family. It was going to cost you some pride. Well, there you go. Number one thing to conquer is your pride, because pride is not good. And it prevents you. I still to this day find myself worried about my pride. I'm trying to start a nonprofit. I had a huge deal I was going to try to do. It was $20 million property. And I don't know why, but I felt like I was supposed to have it. Well, basically, to make a short story, I had an opportunity. I probably could have pursued it. It kept coming and going. I didn't make the commitment to really go to do it because I didn't want to ask. I felt like, I'm being needy. I'm asking people for something. It's just pride. Too prideful to figure out how to go ask myself to pursue it. The deal gone. It's not gone because I'm going to go open my nonprofit. But I realized that when something's in front of you that you don't think you can do, but you think you're supposed to, rule number one, if you think there's things that you cannot do, and that's why you're not willing to start it, get started, because more than likely, those things that are in front of you aren't even the things that'll stop you, not even the things that are your biggest hurdle. They're just the things that you imagine are going to stop you. And you can do whatever you can, do what you can to complete it, and the rest will work itself out. And that's just what that's the best way I could say to take fear on. Go do the parts you can, and the rest will work out.
It's all about just taking that initial action. Now, one of the questions I'm dying to ask is this. I mean, you achieved all this outward success, I would probably say, later in your life. But it seemed like this mantra, this living the dream thing, just seeing you on the videos, on TikTok and Instagram, seeing you in real life, interacting with you, feeling your energy. I can't imagine that's any different than it was decades ago. Am I right?
Yes and no. I was scared spitless of public speaking. And you know what the funniest thing is? My real dream is public speaking. Is being a motivational speaker. That's actually, if you really want to know what I believe what I'm supposed to do, is the exact same thing that I was petrified for the first 25 years of my life.
Oh, amazing.
Petrified. I mean, essay, verbal, oh my gosh, oral essay. Now I think to myself, I could have passed any degree, anything in school if I would have just been an oral essay. You know what I mean? I can learn anything if you don't make me read or write. I can do anything because those are my weaknesses. Those are my physical weaknesses. And I don't believe your physical weaknesses have anything to do with your achievements, your ability. I mean, we see people online have no arms, no legs, and no excuses, right? I mean, there's so many people that can prove to you, I say you, anybody, that whatever you think is stopping you is just an excuse in your mind. And I know people are like, oh, what if I need $10 million, that's impossible. You know what? Nothing's impossible until you decide to give up on your dream to succeed it. I'm 18 years behind my dreams. Okay. And you know what I've learned? It's never on your time. It's never the exact way you're supposed to have it. But if you never give up and you're willing to be flexible, flexibility is not part of mental health. The unflexibility is exactly what mental health creates. It is what magnifies it, because being flexible is a superpower and it's not easily learned. And you have to put your pride aside. You got to be able to be, you know what? You got to be flexible. And
Well,
I
you know,
think
one of
that's
the things
part of it.
you just shared is sharing your dreams is so important too, because if you speak it and other people hear it, all of a sudden other people hold you to account. And it just so happens, Jay, that I am in the motivational speaking space, and I would love to talk to you about how to get your reel ready, how to get you market ready, and how to get you more stages. Because let's make that your dream.
I'm on point. The funny part is in my mind, because I'm a thinker, I'm a long-term thinker. I'm a motivation thinker. I get a dream. I get something stuck sometimes with people. I remember I've heard this statement more than one time. Man, give it a break. Because I'll just be so overly focused. ADD, right? I mean, like I said, I probably have every alphabet in everything they call it a disability mentally, I'm sure I have. And I'm not, and the truth of the matter is those are superpowers if you just let them be what they're meant to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, I wish I was different, but you know what? I'm fine. And the more I learn I'm fine, the further I get. And so the first thing I thought for me trying to do it my way is I thought, okay, I need a TV show. If I get a TV show, I need a zoo because I'm making no money and I need a way to make money if I have a TV show. Then, because I have the TV show, what I really want to do is the reason why I want a TV show is because I want to be a motivational speaker. But in order to be a motivational speaker, I have to write a book. And if I write a book, all this is fitting together like a puzzle. I have to have the show to write the book. I have to have the book to get the motivational speaking. And I have to have the zoo in order to pay for it all, right? So what ends up happening? Economy crashes, I open the zoo up. So the zoo, I open the zoo and I decide I want to get a motivational, I want to do my TV show. What ends up happening in real life is I open the zoo anyway. I go social media because it's the only thing I can do. You know what I mean? I fail at getting a show for 15 years. I decide during my social media experience, before I had a couple million followers total. Now we have 60 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And while I only got 2 million of the 60 million, I decide to myself, what are you so scared of? Start the book. I write the book, right? I write the book. All of a sudden, boom, COVID hits. I become ultra famous, right? Now everything's in place. I realized one day, what in the world do you need to have a show for? Just, you want to go do your thing, go do it. So I decide I need to maybe start working on my motivational speaking. Boom, I land. I'm introduced to all these people that speak like yourself. And boom, I have people tell me, I'll help you, I'll mentor you. Boom, what do you think happens? The TV show. After I'm willing to accept that there's a different path, boom, I get a phone call from the TV people. They accept the show. And rumored today, it's a hit.
Well, I highly encourage everybody to take a look at the show. And just through our conversation today, I could just, let people.
You don't know all this about me. You're probably going, whoa.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
and that's what I want to get out there because I don't believe I'm smart. I don't believe I'm qualified. I believe I just have the hack for everyday people to find freedom inside themselves, to find what really is in front of them, to be adventurous enough, fearless enough to live their life the way maybe it's supposed to be and quit looking at everybody else as the reason why you're not, or as an excuse why you don't want to try, or any of the above, and be happy with what you have, because probably what you have is perfect for you, and you just need to start living in it, appreciating it, and that'll help with your mental health.
Oh, wow. That's a mic drop right there. I can't, end this conversation better than that. Jay Brewer, thank you for sharing your wisdom on the Thrive State Summit.
I appreciate it. And all that happened being late. So everybody, calm down. You don't need everything that's in front of you.
I hope you enjoy that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.